Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories, and we've got a conversation coming up on lithium and its exploration in Ghana. How can we maximize the benefits of same? What do we have to do? Well, we'll be bringing you details of that now as we engage our guest, Dr. Stephen Blessing Ackah. He's Executive Director, Ghana Gold Expo. Dr. Ackah, good morning. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm okay. I could be better, but I hope you're well too.
Yes, very well. Just that it's a bit cold here, but you're fine.
I see. Anyway, so let's get into this whole bit about lithium in Ghana. What is the state from where you sit? I mean, you've been in this exploration, mining exploration, gold and other things. The last time you came here, we were talking more about gold. But when you look at our lithium footprint in Ghana and the deals we've been striking so far, where the lands minister has been touting, what picture do you see?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I think we need to ratify the historic imbalance and empower Ghanaians to establish this lithium prospect that we have. We are very lucky to identify a lot of the pegmatite bodies in the central region, but we know that the authorization of the global spotlight energy system is set to drive huge increase in the requirement of critical minerals, and Ghana is likely to be one of these countries that have these minerals. This means that a lot of sectors, such as the energy sector, the transport sector, is going to become, they are going to merge with the minerals market. Ghana is not far in terms of these lithium pegmatite bodies identified just from central region. And if you look at the central region, it's starting from Winneba down to Cape Coast, Sopon, Cape Coast, they are part of the areas that we have identified this. But there are certain things that we have to quickly look at it to make sure that the right thing is done so that we don't go back to the issues like the gold issue, issues that we've had in the past decade. If you look at the lithium, we are currently pushing and we are asking government that we need to establish the investment fund so that most of these domestic companies that have identified this resource will be able to go into exploration program so that we can maximize profit and also revenue. But what is happening is that we've not seen that yet, and we are currently asking the government that the government should quickly sit down to speak with the Minerals Income Investment Fund, because if you look at the duties or the right of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, they are supposed to, protect the royalties that we have in Ghana. And if these royalties comes, what are we using it for? We've seen some of the work that Minerals Income Investment Fund is doing. But the critical minerals is very crucial because some countries have decided that they are only going to explore by investing money into exploration. However, they are not going to mine the resource itself. So because it's more critical, because nobody knows what is going to happen in the future. So this is where we are coming in to speak to the government and also to the global front, especially because I am currently here meeting a lot of industry players to discuss some of these opportunities and also to drive in investment into Ghana. Thank you very much.
Let me ask you this very blunt question, especially looking at our experience with exploring other minerals, especially gold. Are we rushing this when it comes to lithium, looking at the deals? Because mind you, the 10% and others that are being bandied about may be slightly better, but other countries for different minerals, including lithium, are getting 30%, north of 40%, right here in Africa. So you ask yourself, if we are getting this and we are celebrating it, are we in a rush just because we are earning a few percentage points more? Are we rushing this?
So this is where it happens. There's something called exploration. As I mentioned, if you look at the deal that was first signed between Atlantic and the state, and also the local entity, and the local entity did not do much, because if they just identified the concession, and they didn't go into exploration. So the investor decided to pump more investment into the mine. And once you go into that, it means that at the end of the day, the government may earn 10%, 20%, 30%. And even with that, to me, I don't think in a way it makes sense, because other countries are rather doing more of equity, just more than royalties. But I think if the government of Ghana decided to go for 10%, we can quickly revisit this and look at what is the issues, what actually happened. Because the first point is there's no exploration fund in Ghana for local companies to go into exploration so that they can bid for higher royalties. So 10% to me is a bit small. The government could have maybe go a bit beyond, but the basis of it is that both government and the local entity did not invest any money into the program. So of course, the investment company is always going to be that they spent much of the money. If you look at what Atlantic is saying, as Atlantic, according to them, have spent more than $100 million to this stage, even with that development. So this is where I think if we want to look at the prosperity and the security of our critical minerals, exploration is very key. Just yesterday, I received a call from Nigeria that the House of Representatives have passed the second bill to set up the Nigerian Minerals Development Bank. And this is what we are talking about. If you have a development bank, or at least you have a fund, then you can bid for equity and you can say, no, I want to do 50% or then investor 50. But in our case, it didn't happen. So as a media station also, as a stakeholder, in as much as we are looking at we're fighting for a higher percentage, we also look at the issues that is currently happening in Ghana. We don't have any fund to explore any of this.
And it's good, Doc, that you make mention of this. It is good you make mention of it, because that's the other angle. There's a third angle I'll be bringing forth. But that's the other angle, because if you don't want to commit yourself to some of the exploration, it technically means that you're also going to be cut short, or you'll get the short end of the stick when it comes to when the mineral is being extracted and all of that. Which then, you mentioned a fund. Should we have some of those systems in place? Some would say that in some cases it makes economic sense. In other cases, it does not. We do not have the wherewithal. But if we keep up like this, we'll keep getting chicken change. And even in that situation, other jurisdictions are still not exploring, but they are saying, listen, if you're going to come and tap into the mineral blessings we have, this is what we're expecting. And they are able to get better deals. How do you respond to that? I do know of that side that says, you go ahead. Go ahead on that. Go ahead on that point. I'll come back.
Let me give you two simple examples. You have Canada. Canada just announced at their PDAC conference that they are going to invest $1.5 billion into exploration program. But let me tell you the adventure about Ghana. In spite of the $1.5 billion that Canada is invested, not into mining, not into the development of mine, into just exploration in terms of building capacity, research, coming up with the big data to be able to confirm all the resources. In spite of all this that Canada is trying to do, the advantage we have is that the logistics that we are going to, we have to put in place is less expensive than that of Canada. Where you identify these resources in Canada is far from the ports. Your lithium concessions is just around the corner in Cape Coast. With a simple jetty, you can easily export this to Takoradi Port, and you are straight to go with the concentrate. So what is making it difficult for government to say that, yes, I'm ready and I want to put in? We are not asking for 1 billion. You just have to put some, at least give a seed capital. And that is why I'm in Monaco at the moment. They are looking at alternative financing. People are looking at family offices, wealth management, equity fund. And most of these people, they will only come when they see that there's a fund available. You understand? The second thing is Australia. Australia is the biggest, producer of critical minerals. 51% of this sector is spending more than $2 billion into exploration, not also into the mine. They are just looking at what does the future state. Because look at, let me just, as you mentioned, the gold sector, small scale mining sector contributes, if well established, $3 billion per annum. It means the revenue that generated from the small scale sector in Ghana is way higher than the total revenue generated from the oil and gas. So if you have a sector, and you should also understand that doing small scale mining doesn't involve huge money. But you see, we are just becoming talkers. We are always talking. How can a Nigeria who doesn't know anything about mining just even go to parliament and state that, yes, they want to set up a Nigerian development, a mineral development bank? What are we doing? I mean, we have an issue with complaining about the royalties, but at the end of the day, government can only earn 10% because government did not put $1. MEF never put any money into any exploration program. And if you ask the Ghana Geological Survey, the exploration program doesn't cost us 15 million. At least let the government do something. We have local companies that are ready to work hand in hand with the government so that these resources become not just an investment, but also a security for the country. India is one of the key countries that have lithium. They've decided at the G20 that they are only going to do exploration, however, they are not going to mine. Because if you look at the Paris Agreement, every country is trying to meet the demand of lithium production. Because Tesla, BMW, Mercedes are trying to go electric vehicle. So countries have decided that no, it's too early for us to go into the mining itself. Let's focus more on the exploration. And the moment you start doing exploration, the difference between lithium and gold, sometimes you have to extract, the resource before people see the value. But for lithium, once you do exploration and have your confirmed resource, you have the pegmatite body identified, and you have you can prove it as a reserve. The country can use it as a way to raise money. We can raise money. Let me tell you, and I must also thank you very much for, 2 years ago, when we discussed about the alternative way of raising money, and we spoke about the domestic purchase program, which is an example like the gold for oil. The reason why we didn't see Ghanaians rushing, queuing to go and look for money at the bank was because the domestic purchase program saved this nation.
Right.
We needed to take a risk. You understand? There will be challenges, but how long we are just looking for $3 billion from IMF, and with a confirmed pegmatite bodies, go and check from Atlantic Lithium, go and check from Akojumo, go and check from U2. These are local. We have more local companies. At least if I don't know, I know more than 2 that are doing something. They just need something small for the government to invest into them, 10 million, 5 million. And if you're able to confirm the resource, you can raise more than $1 billion. It means you're even creating FX for the country rather than just going for loan or this.
I get your point, but just to move the conversation forward, we have a few minutes more to go. Now, we do know the other side of the conversation I wanted to mention. Lithium is becoming the proliferation of lithium. Many more countries are finding lithium. And some have also said that if we don't go that way now, we have the resource, it may get to the point where in some coming years or decades, it may be at the lowest prices. So it makes sense to go into it now. But I'm asking you, how do we control the future of mining exploration or lithium exploration in Ghana to ensure that we are getting the greatest benefits? How, for example, do we bring in the citizenry to ensure that their participation is guaranteed and that they also benefit?
Thank you very much. Yes. Pricing for lithium is currently not good because of the fluctuation. But we understand if you look at the equity and the stock exchange side, you understand that maybe it's a program that people have just decided to put in place so that people can buy more stock at the moment. On the case of Ghana, as I mentioned to you, the logistics to which we can have this reserve doesn't cost too much money. And at the same time, we have local companies that are already, they've identified these resources in their own means. To move to the next stage, what I think we should do is that the Minerals Commission and the Ministry of Lands, this go beyond them. They need to bring in the Ministry of Finance, they need to bring in the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Railway, and even the Ministry of Agriculture, because of the carbon credits and other things that is happening, to sit down to look at the alternative way of preserving this resource. The country may decide that, no, we don't want to go into the mine at the moment, but we want to go into exploration. Then there can be some subsidies for these local companies. And these local companies will be able to go into a bit of the exploration. And once you get to a certain point, investors on either by equity or by loan will be able to come directly with these companies to have a merger or a joint venture. The government doesn't need to own too much of the percentage. That's something that is also misleading. The government have the 10% freehold, so this is okay. What happens is that the local companies here, these are private companies that are supposed to pay tax. They are not earning much percentage. If the government earns, let's say, 30%, and the local entity is making 2%, it still doesn't make sense. So what we are trying to say is that these local companies should be the one to own the majority stake. Then the government of Ghana collaborate with them so that they put a good policy, so they become more of a local content something. So I think this is what we need to do. But until we set up the fund and at the same time look at the pricing and the hedging, it will be difficult. This is going to be just like the gold that happened.
Moving on then, I would also like us to look at rules, transparency, and all of that, and how we can ensure, again, that not just these individuals and citizens, but communities. You look at mining communities and what they've been able to tap into as far as exploration is concerned. Some places you go to and it's woeful. How can we direct that?
Yes. So, I've had opportunity to visit Central Region many times, and you could see that the people don't even know anything about lithium. So the first thing is that you have a basic university in Takwa. We don't need to send so many people outside of Ghana, but we can begin to look at and training these communities, you understand? Because the beautiful thing about lithium is that we are not, after the concentrate, there are other byproducts that are available that we are even still going to use, like the feldspar, the kaolin. These are all a byproduct that will be used locally. But the community, if you listen to people in Winneba, people in Sopon, they are saying that they don't just need money. They are not interested in just building hospitals. They want the people to be trained. So in the next 20 years, they know that these are engineers that we have in Winneba, these are engineers that we have in Sopon, these are engineers we have in Cape Coast.
Right.
So I think the government should quickly look at some of these programs. But as I'm saying, all this boils down to a fund. If you have a fund, then you can decide that, okay, in the next 2 years, I'm focusing on capacity building. If I have a fund, you can decide that in the next 3 years, I'm looking at maybe building roads.
Right.
Because you can see what clearly happened in the community. The community is great, but we need to find a way so that we can increase the level of capacity. We shouldn't wait for let's say, the mining company to start production before we said, oh, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the expertise. This is the time. Let's put at least 20% of the community back to school. Let them learn so that as time goes on, we have most of these engineers coming.
Doc, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. And let's see how all of this shapes our thinking and moving forward our policies when it comes to exploration of minerals, especially lithium. I was just joined by Dr. Stephen Blessing Ackah. He's Executive Director at Ghana Gold Expo. Stay with us. We'll be back with more shortly.